Hi, this is Eric. I've decided to do a vlog for the first time. I have no experience doing this. We'll see how this goes. The reason I decided to do a blog is to talk a little bit about life here at GingerSnapAcres in rural Wisconsin. Before I get started with that, though, let me just give you a little bit of background. I lived in the city of Chicago from the time I was 22, and I lived there until I was about 46. So I had about 24 years living in the city. And all along, I knew that it was getting increasingly stressful. And as much as I love this city, it was becoming less and less of a good fit for me. Um, in April of 2013, I met the man who would become my husband, Patrick, and very early on in our relationship, we started talking about the fact that he was on the same page, that he had lived in the city for a really long time too, and didn't feel like it was a good fit and had thoughts of wanting to leave. And luckily, we were kind of on the same page that we were both thinking that it would be great to live somewhere either very small town or very rural that could serve as a kind of event space or campground or gathering place, art community. As a mental health professional, I love the idea of being able to do like therapeutic camps or those kinds of things. We were really nebulous about what it would look like or how it would work, but we just knew that it would necessitate a move. So we were married in September of 2014 and made a decision really early on that we should set a deadline for ourselves. Otherwise, stuff doesn't get done. So we set a deadline, and magically we stuck to it. We set out tasks for ourselves like, we would take little excursions into Wisconsin to look at the landscape and just figure out kind of what we wanted. Both of us had long histories of visiting Wisconsin and knew that we both loved it. It's nice and close to Chicago, relatively speaking, for someplace so rural. It's not too hard to get back. And it's a beautiful state. It has these lovely rolling hills and beautiful farms and the North Woods, and it's really easy to romanticize. It's a lovely place, and it's a joy to be here. So we made these little excursions, and we also started looking online at properties. And so finally we decided, okay, well, we should probably get a realtor and start looking at places. And so we started doing that. Initially, I started applying for jobs up here and luckily got one pretty quickly. And Patrick was able to set up sort of a working from home kind of thing and maintain his job in Chicago for about the first year we were here. So we knew that work was all settled, and so we were able to just make an offer on a place. So we looked at a lot of places, and we started off thinking that moving to the country would probably be too big a transition. So we're thinking like maybe we should go to like a small or even a medium-sized town and kind of go from there. And we knew we wanted to be close to Madison because Madison's just a great town. And so we branched our search out from there, and found what would become GingerSnapAcres. We found on like Zillow or some other realtor site and just fell in love with it. And by the way, it's one of the very few places that I've ever seen where it actually looked like the pictures. So you kind of fall in love with the pictures, and then you get there and you're like, did they use like a fish islands or something? Nope. The house looked fantastic when we got here, and we just fell in love with it. And that was in February of 2016. The deadline that we'd set for ourselves is to be moved by, I think it was May 1st, 2016, and we closed on the house on April 28th, and we were moved in on April 29th. That's when the movers dropped off all of our stuff, and we were here. So setting a deadline worked. So GingerSnapAcres, like I think I said, I can't remember, it used to be a working dairy farm. It was an 80-acre dairy farm. So apparently they would sort of grow their own grains. There was a great big barn on the property. There's actually several outbuildings, including a big old barn. The huge barn has been torn down. But weirdly, on the property, in addition to our house, we've got all these little structures that were used for farming. Um, thank God the big barn's gone. I have no idea what we would do with a giant barn. Um, but the apparently dairy farming takes a lot of buildings. There's just buildings everywhere. So the house itself, um, the people who were the previous owners, the only owners of the house, built it in about, I think it was about 2001. They built it 2002 maybe, and it's a log cabin with a really open, big kind of floor plan. The original farmhouse that was here was kind of on another part of the property, and that was torn down. And the house is actually built into a hill where I guess it would have been right behind where the big barn was. You can still see where the barn was because the grass there looks amazing. Decades of cow manure kind of being dumped there actually did a good service. But we have all kinds of buildings everywhere, in addition to the house. Again, it was an 80-acre plot. When they sold the house, they actually divided up the property, and we have the 5 acres that are adjacent to the road, and then there's an easement on the side that goes to the back 75 acres, which now belongs to someone else, but we would love someday to be able to afford it. That's sort of the lottery fantasy right now. So let me share with you some photos of what Ginger Snap Acres looks like, and kind of all these buildings I keep talking about. Okay, right behind Bowman the dog, right here, you can see the house. All the external walls are made of logs, nice big front porches you can see. Off to the right, that metal building that you see is the granary, which is where they stored the grain to feed the cows. It's a metal building that has these stalls built into it. We don't really have a use for it yet. We just store some stuff in there, and that's that. And here's another view of the granary from the front. You can see a little bit of the porch in the background, and on the other side of that, you can see the medium barn and the little barn. Again, big barn's long gone, but we still have these two structures out there. Here's another view of those barns. This is at sunset. Obviously, they're on the west side of the property, so they light up real pretty. And here we have the outdoor kitchen. This was directly behind the farmhouse when it was still standing, and we use it as a chicken coop when we have chickens. Right behind the outdoor kitchen is what was the original chicken coop when this used to be a working farm. We ended up not using this because it seems like predators could get in a little bit too easily, and it also looks like a creepy murder shack from Central Casting. It's just creepy. And right here out by the road, we have what is the milk house. That's what we were told it was called. We think the purpose of this is where they stored the milk. It's by the road so the milk trucks could come by and pick up the milk really easily. It's not far from where the barn would have been. On the west side that would have been shaded, there's a little pool, so we think that that was meant to kind of keep the milk cool on hot days, and they could put the milk inside, and it seems like there was some kind of fireplace or something in there. You can see the chimney, and that's what it was used for. Our plan for it is that we would kind of like to open some kind of little shop where we sell things. Patrick cans and makes preserves and those kinds of things. I'm an avid thrifter, so we'd like to open kind of a little roadside store or something there, just a little side hustle to supplement that income a little bit. So that is the quickest possible overview of what physically Ginger Snap Acres is. It doesn't really encapsulate all the things that we would like it to be. And we have a million projects that need to get done, and it's going to be quite a process. And part of the reason for this vlog is to kind of put out there that there may be other people out there that have dreams kind of similar to this, and We just want people to know that it's doable. You just kind of put one foot in front of the other, and sometimes you stumble, and then you get back up and you figure it out. Um, and that's the kind of stuff that I wanted to document as we're doing this. I also like the idea of being held accountable for having all these projects that need to be done and actually getting to them. Um, I can't tell you how many things out there need to be painted. Um, we have an outhouse that I didn't show you a picture of, but my dream is to get that outhouse to a point that Coco Chanel would use it. And that's a big dream. It's a big project. So, in any case, I'll be kind of putting out there as authentically and transparently as I can kind of these projects as we're working on them. My hope is to have kind of a different topic every time I come on and kind of tell you what we've learned so far and all the places where we're struggling, and look forward to getting feedback from everybody, and hoping that people will be willing to kind of share their wisdom. And thanks.